Mics are recording now too. Red means recording. We're live. I felt like throughout 2023, for the both of us, a topic that came up is being uncomfortable and what that does. I think this is something that both of us found, especially this year, and we've put a lot of emphasis to not only do the things that we're uncomfortable that we may not choose to do, and how those are good for us, but also we're now choosing to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. What are a few things that you did this year that were uncomfortable that help you with mental toughness?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Dallyn, because I actually started one of his challenges. It's Elevate 60, and the challenge has helped me overall just improve myself. And some of the aspects of going back to what you mentioned with being uncomfortable was cold plunging. You started the Elevate 60, and I think when I started doing that challenge, it was very hard at the start because it was uncomfortable. And what was uncomfortable about it was that I had to really recreate new habits for myself so I can actually push myself. And some of those new habits and some of those new things that I've developed was really cold plunging. I think for both and I, when you invited me out, it was really tough at the start. Like, he invited me out to go cold plunging, and he first told me, Isaac, we're gonna be cold plunging, do you wanna come? I was like, cold plunging? How long? In my head, the only cold plunge I've ever done was like 20 seconds. After that, Dallyn said, it's gonna be for 3 minutes. I was like, 3 minutes? Where? Kitsilano Beach. I don't know if you guys know, but over at Kitsilano Beach during like December, November, the water is cold. So I said, well, I don't want to do that. In my head, I told myself, I do not want to do that because it's uncomfortable. And I think that after I had that thought, it just made me think about how, like, in general with my life, I'm playing in my comfort zone, which is the reason why I'm not achieving the type of results I actually want, because my comfort zone is what I already know. And this is applicable to other people too. When we decide to only stay in our comfort zone, what happens is that there starts to be a disconnect. And the disconnect for me was I wanted more with my life, but I was not willing to step out of that zone. And that's where your thoughts and your actions disconnect, and that's where you kind of start tearing yourself apart. So going back to the cold plunging, I didn't want to do it. And after a while, I thought about it, and I thought about like everything I just mentioned, and looked at Dallyn, I was like, I'm in.
Just a quick I'm in. Yeah, cold plunging was one of the things I think that, well, cold exposure in general is something that we both discovered this year. And I think that I think the power of just doing shit that you don't want to do. Like, that's a process. Like, if you were to break it down, like going to do a cold plunge, it's like you wake up, right, and you know the night before that this is what you're gonna do. So you're already thinking about it. You wake up, you know that you have to do it, and what does your mind automatically do? It starts to procrastinate. It starts throwing ideas and thoughts into your mind to make you forget about it. It tells you, oh, like, maybe like, what are you gonna eat for breakfast? Or starts saying like, oh, like, what is your day gonna look like? It's gonna throw things at you like, oh, what song do you want to listen to while you're doing it? It's just you have to go through this process of your mind trying to get you to do anything but the cold plunge. And so going through that process and conquering those thoughts and pushing through and then finally doing it, I think is like where the battle is won. Once you're in the water, yes, it sucks and it's not fun and it's cold as shit, but the battle is won in your mind before you do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I said this to you before, like something I learned from Andrew Huberman. He talks about the AMCC, and it's basically a part of your brain that it's essentially your willpower muscle. That's not the correct terminology, but the more you do hard stuff, the more you do things that you don't want to do, the bigger and stronger it gets. And the more capable you are at doing hard stuff, the more capable you are at doing things that you don't want to do. And I think building that muscle and consistently exercising it is important, and that's been a huge topic for us this year.
Why do you think this year specifically has been so important for you to build that muscle?
That's a good question. I think leading up to this year, for me personally, I've lacked a lot of clarity in like what I want to even do in life, and trying stuff all over and lots of stuff failing. But I've gained a lot of clarity this year from taking action. And I think when you do uncomfortable things and you take action on them, you build clarity in what you want and learning about yourself. You learn about yourself because you, like I said, you go through that process of not wanting to do it, your mind throwing thoughts at you, and you learn about that in your process. You learn about yourself in way more in hardships than you do when you have success. And so I think that's the most important thing about doing uncomfortable things this year, is just the amount of self-awareness that you gain and the amount of stuff that I've learned about myself in doing hard shit. How about you? What do you think? Why do you think doing uncomfortable stuff was so important for you this year?
For me, I've noticed for myself, I love my comfort zone, like so much. And I like it so much to the point where I was staying in it, even though I was like feeling uncomfortable with who I was as a person. And I think that starts to clash with yourself when your identity and who you are right now is asking you to grow. The reason why is because it knows that the you now is not who you could fully be, and the you now is not like keeping up with kind of like the day-to-day life, because it's outdated. Your habits, the way you behave, kind of like when we were in high school, us growing up and us learning, right? That helps us adapt to new scenarios so we can feel comfortable again. So although it contradicts each other, you have to make yourself super uncomfortable. You have to do the hard things. You have to actually put yourself in those situations to truly be comfortable. And it's confusing because sometimes if you don't understand how to separate the two, what starts to happen is that you start to do the easy thing, because everyone loves the easy thing, including myself. And when you start doing that, what happens is that you might not notice it at the start. Just like working out, when you start, you don't notice it for maybe like a couple days, week, could take months. But over time, when you're after like 2 to 3 months, that's when you notice that, oh, I've actually grown, like with your body. You notice that like you put on more muscle, you feel more energy. And then there's also other hidden benefits that you start to realize as well. You start to realize, wow, if I can do this, then what else can I do? And that's the realization that I had.
Dude, you're spot on, bro. Like that's like, I feel like a lot of us can relate to that. And it's crazy because it's almost like when you first start to do something that you've never done before, you don't know how to do it, and you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's almost a misunderstanding with yourself. Because if you think about, I'll try to give an example. So say you want to learn how to edit videos. This is a great example.
Yeah.
You do a lot of editing yourself and you've gotten very good at it.
Yeah.
When you first start to edit, it feels super overwhelming and you actually can't do it. You physically can't, and you actually it's because the neural pathway in your brain to edit videos is physically not there. Yeah. You don't even have a pathway to do it. You've never done it before. So our initial response is, I can't do it. Yeah. I can't do it, so why even try? So it's almost like we do the easy thing because we actually don't even know how to do the uncomfortable thing.
Right.
And so what we need to tell ourselves, like literally this needs to be an internal conversation with yourself, is that, yeah, I can't do it right now, but that's because I haven't done it before. And so when you just go, you put a blindfold on and you just go head first and you do it, that's when all the progress starts to happen. When you just say, F it, like, I don't care, like, if I don't know how to do it, I'm just going to try to do it anyways. A couple weeks in, you'll realize, oh, like, shit, I can do this. Like, I'm starting to make a little bit of progress. And that's where you break the barrier of, like literally the neural pathway starts to form and you now, like, can do it. And so that reinforces you to continue to try. And that reinforces yourself when you do hit a barrier. You'll know from before, like, hey, I can't do this right now because I don't know, but if I just go head first and do it, I can do it. Like, I'll be able to do it. And so I think just like understanding that and then you stacking that kind of proof up for yourself is super important. And I think everybody, if you want to be successful, if you want to live a fulfilling life, you need to go through that process.
Yeah. And
stack that proof. And the more proof you start stacking for yourself, the better you get and the more confident you become.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great you mention it, because, you know, I wanted to follow up with a question too. It's kind of like for 2023, because today's December 29th.
Yeah.
We have like 2 more days till the New Year's.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do this we did want to do this podcast, but we didn't want to do it at the start for a while because of perfectionism. And that's making sure that things are right. This year, I learned that, yes, it needs to be right. You need to do your best. But it's okay if you make a mistake, and it's okay if it doesn't turn out the ideal way. What matters is that you put in the repetition to actually continue forward. And I applied the same method with my video. First video, you try your best, like you put in so much effort, and you know, you try to see like what works and what doesn't work. And even though you do that, your video still turns out shit.
Yeah.
But the cool part is that because it turned out shit the first time, now you know, looking back at your video, once you reflect on it, oh, maybe I could improve with the colors. Oh, maybe I can fix the audio. That process, what I just described, is how you get better. I apply that same method to everything I do. And I think I've been practicing that more often, which is why, regarding the muscle, right, of not wanting to do something but still do it, I can now get myself to do it and not put so much emotional emphasis on it, so I don't dwell, but I critique, pivot, and just move on. And it speeds up my progress so fast this year, which is crazy because I wanted to improve myself, and I always do. I think myself and Dallyn we always look to self-growth, but I think right now I'm starting to really see it compound, like this year.
So if you were speaking to somebody, like, this is if you could make this answer as short as possible, if you were speaking to someone that's just starting off, let's say editing, let's say filming and editing, but they're in a spot where they feel like they can't because they've never done it before. Speaking about just doing it and not being a perfectionist, what should they do?
Just do it. Just do it. You got to be consistent, and you got to know why you're doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't know why you're doing it, you're not going to stay in it.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. Yeah, I think understanding the why, it doesn't, and I feel like when people think about why, personally, when I've thought about why, I get overwhelmed, because I think it has to be like this big, overarching, save the world why. It really doesn't. It really could just be like, for you, you've said lots that you really enjoy telling stories.
Yeah.
And when you're able to edit a video well, it helps you tell the story.
Yeah.
It helps you encapsulate all the emotions that you want. And so even right there, that could be a why. I love to tell stories, and editing is going to help me tell them better. And I think finding your why is the first step. And like you said, like, you don't worry about perfectionism. We both did a challenge that I created, and I called it Elevate 60. And really it's just it's what it sounds like. It's 60 days and you want to elevate, and you're trying to elevate yourself. You're trying to elevate yourself in 60 days. And I documented the whole thing. I posted a video, 60 days, a short video every single day on my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Every single
day.
Every day.
And dude, it was hell. I'm not gonna lie, it sucked. And I worried a lot in the beginning about the quality of my videos. But what I learned at the end of it is when you first start something, you're not going to be good. So you basically just have to not even worry about the quality. When you first start something, focus on the quantity. Just focus on doing it fast and getting it done and just doing it. Because once you have this, once you have like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of videos, now you can look back and like see where you can make improvements, and now you can start to focus on some quantity. Quantity is important, but if you don't have like the reps to actually get better, then you'll never get better. You'll never be able to know how to make your video have more quality.
Yeah, and to go off that just a little bit, it's kind of like you need to put in the reps. This is like with anything, because the reps, if I were to give an analogy, it represents like your resources. And if you don't have enough resources, then you can't turn those resources into anything you want. And that's important because especially like going back to what you're saying, without the quantity, like without actually doing it and having a lot under your belt, this is regarding your experience, what you've learned, what you've done, what it felt like when you were doing it, depending what you do. If you don't have that, then it's really hard to reflect on it because you don't have anything. That's like me going out and you know, it's like, I think this is with anyone. If you do something for the first time, anything, even if you're talented, it will still probably be bad. And if it's good, it wouldn't be as great as what you have in your head.
Let's talk about the 60-day challenge a little bit.
Sure.
I created this 60-day challenge because one of my whys in this life is I want to inspire as many people as possible to make positive change in their lives. It's super broad, but really it just means a positive change could be anything. It could be quitting vaping. It could be taking cold showers in the morning. I wanna inspire people to make some type of positive change in their life because I understand that these things compound and will change your life, no matter how small. And that's basically what the challenge was all about. Is I did it. There was 5 rules. And I basically want to inspire as many people to do the challenge as well. And Isaac did it pretty much right after me. He started, I think, midway through I was doing it. And so, but I didn't actually say what it was yet. So basically the 5 rules were like, they were different for both of us, and it's not rigid. You don't have to, but my 5 rules were wake up at 6 a.m. every day, read a book, read 10 pages of a book, 20 minutes of meditation, exercise for 30 to 60 minutes every single day. And the 5th one was produce something. And that could be a skill, learning a new skill. That could be working on a side hustle or a business. And for me, that was editing the videos, editing every single video every single day and posting it to social media. And Isaac had a bit of a different set of rules. But yeah, I wanted to hear about your experience, what you learned, where you failed, where you messed up. And yeah, I just kind of want to know about your experience because I haven't really talked to you about it yet.
What I wanted to do from this challenge is I wanted to know from myself if I can make a firm choice internally, because it has to come from inside. And I wanted to know if that choice I made, how much weight does that choice have with myself? Not with anyone else, just with myself. And what I mean by that is I want to know if I have enough trust and belief in myself that if I say I'm going to do something and I mean it from my heart, can I actually follow through? So for me, this was really important because yes, it was a challenge for myself, but the underlining why was I wanted to know if I am the person I say I am. And what I mean by that is I want to know if I have integrity. I want to know if I can keep my word. I want to know if I'm honest. I want to know how strong my willpower is. I want to know if I can lead myself and lead others. So for me, that's the only thing that was running through my head in the morning. Even cold plunging. When I walked in the water, I don't know if you were looking at me, but I actually, it was cold, but I didn't react. Inside,
you didn't.
I didn't react.
I was dying.
I still wasn't reacting.
This guy was a monk in the water.
I literally was. I walk in, I was like, you know what, this sucks, but going back to my reasons, I was like, I believe, and I don't know what kind of nicks at you guys, but for myself, it's like, if somebody challenges my character, or if somebody tells me that you're a liar, or you're somebody that cannot keep your word, it means a lot to me. And it means a lot because it goes back to your identity. Who do you see yourself as, and who do you want to be? If I see myself as somebody honest, I can't just talk about it. Although I'm talking on this podcast with my friend Dallyn and even to you guys, it's more about what am I actually doing every single day to basically reinforce the belief that I am honest. Honesty is hardest and most tested when you don't want to be honest. So going back to those qualities, my willpower, cold water helped me. I didn't want to do that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What did simply showing up for yourself every single day do for yourself? What did it do to your confidence? What did it help you with? How did you feel after showing up for yourself every single day for 60 days straight? And you're still continuing.
Yeah, it taught me that, one, you are worth it. Number two, you are important. And this doesn't come from ego. This comes from a place of like, if you can play big because you have one life, even if other people tell you you can't and people impose their limiting beliefs on you, I always ask myself, why can't I? So this goes back to believing in myself. I believe that if I show up every single day, which I have been, it means that, one, everything I've been saying about myself, I can do. So the past 82 days, I'm on day 82. It means that I can actually do it consistently, back to back to back, if I cared. And the biggest thing is if you care, because you can't force somebody to care. And this is regarding other things. We're going to go through life, we're going to test things, we're learning, right? What we're essentially trying to do in our life is that we're trying to see what sticks with us and what hits home. That care you have goes down to your core. You can't really change that. There's some parts about you and your personality and your upbringing you cannot change. And for me, it's like I realized that I need to position myself in life where that care is aligned with my actions. So I care a lot about my integrity. I've got to do something, and this relates to the type of work as well, that is aligned with that and if I feel like is worthwhile.
How do you think having such strong integrity for yourself impacts your relationships with others?
It makes you more predictable in a good way. It lets other people, including yourself, because it's kind of like I'm teaching myself. It's like I'm conscious about what I'm doing. So it's like I know if I'm keeping my word. Other people, I might lie to you now and you might not know. But at the end of the day, I know. And the reason why that's important is because the more I lie to you and other people, the more I chip away at that integrity, which ends up chipping away at my confidence. So the integrity part is staying predictable for yourself and others.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And I think when you have strong integrity with yourself and you show up for yourself and you don't lie to yourself, you tend to become more confident, and therefore you can care for others a lot more, and you can be there for other people, and I think you're just a lot more authentic with other people when you truly show up for yourself. Because if you're gonna lie to yourself and you're not gonna show up for yourself, then people are gonna know just based off of your actions that you're not a reliable person for them.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, something I've learned with self-improvement is that you're unable to truly help other people if you're not helping yourself become better.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And yes, you can help people. I'm not saying that you should only focus on yourself and never help anybody else, but it's more so just the habits of how, what you're doing every day. If you're generally focusing on your own self-improvement and getting better every day and focusing on what matters to you, then you're generally just going to be able to help others better, because I think you're just in a better mind space when you're focusing on yourself. I think that when you self-improvement tends to feel oh, you're selfish, because people tend to think you're selfish because you're only focusing on yourself. But I believe that if you're not focusing on yourself and getting better, you're actually going to be more selfish to other people. Mm-hmm. You're gonna not care about other people because you have so many issues and shit that's going on in your own life.